Hello, Stephan here with Liquidity with a video on the difference between the two words German and Germanic. What is the difference between those two words? Liquidity. These two words, these two adjectives, usually they're used as adjectives, German and Germanic, are confusing because they can be used interchangeably. For instance, the Merriam-Webster online dictionary offers German as the first definition for Germanic, and I disagree with that. For reasons that I will explain in this video, I would discourage people from using them as synonyms. I don't think they're the same thing. In German, we make a clear distinction between those, and I think it would be also helpful to do the same thing in English. Let's talk about the word German first. So German refers to obviously the language, the German language, but also to anything that has to do with the history or the culture or the society or the politics of the German state or German states. And yes, there's been more than one German state. Obviously, there have been different Germanys governed by different types of governments, but also sometimes that it's been more than one. During the Cold War, for instance, we had East Germany and West Germany. During the period of time that is referred to as the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation, which, depending on who you ask, last about 1,000 years, maybe less, depending on who you ask. We had hundreds of more or less independent principalities, imperial cities, ecclesiastic states that were run by basically the Catholic Church or a representative of the Catholic Church, a bishop. Even today, not everyone who speaks German as their first language, as their mother tongue, or as their native language, would be referred to as German, or would like to be referred to as German. So if you tell Austrians who speak German that they are German, then they will very quickly correct you. The same is true for Swiss people. And you can compare that with English. A lot of people who speak English, even as their native language, are not English. So, for instance, if you're in the UK, in Scotland, or in Wales, and you call people English, they will also very quickly correct you. Obviously, English is spoken as a native language in many, many different countries, North America, Australia, New Zealand, and many other places around the world as well, right? And also as a secondary language. And not everyone who has existed within the boundaries of what was called Germany would have considered themselves as ethnically German, or German of German nationality, of German culture even, or necessarily a native speaker of German. So even today we have minorities within modern day Germany, which has relatively tight borders in comparison to its history. And we have Sorbian, Frisian, Danish minorities, for instance. If you are into family research, which is a lot of fun and can be a great hobby to have, and also very fascinating, just to dig back into the past and to figure out your family tree, and you come across, say, somebody who was from Prussia from the 18th century, you may think, oh, that person is Prussian, therefore German. However, that person may be German, that person may be Kashubian, that person may be Sorbian, that person may be Polish, that person may be a number of different things, that person may be Baltic, or that person could be a combination of different nationalities, or that person may actually have, for instance, Slavic ancestors for the most part, or Baltic ancestors for the most part, or a combination of those, but that person's family, for whatever reason, decided to become Germanized. So they may have a Slavic last name, but consider themselves completely German, really. Many modern Germans have substantial Baltic and Slavic ancestries. In fact, the very name of Prussia, which was for very long one of the most dominant states of Germany, derives its name from a Baltic people. So the original Prussians would have spoken a language that was more closely related to Lithuanian and Latvian. In modern day Germany, we also have a large number of people who have families or have origins in other parts of Europe and in many other parts of the world. For instance, the largest group of people of a different origin are the almost 3 million people of Turkish origin who live primarily in urban centers, and almost half of them have German citizenship. So there are many people who live in modern Germany who have origins from other parts of the world or part of their families from other parts of the world. So we are a very mixed people. We're right in the center of Europe, of course, and a lot of people have moved through Germany, and Germans like to move around too. I was born and raised in Germany. I lived there for the first 21 years of my life. And then I emigrated to the United States. So I'm German American, I suppose. That's one way of defining myself. I'll give you an example from my own family history background. So all of my grandparents were German. One of my grandparents, my paternal grandfather, was from a part of Europe that is in English referred to as Silesia. In German, it's called Schlesien. I can't pronounce the Polish, so I apologize for that. It was part of Germany or a German state for centuries up until the end of World War II. It had always been a multi-ethnic region of Europe with many people living there, Germans, Poles, and also some other groups of people. And I know that that side of my family also included some Hungarians. That side of my family was also Catholic, so it's quite conceivable that maybe throughout the centuries that my ancestors had lived in Silesia, that they also included some ethnic Poles who then became Germanized. Today, the word Germanic refers to mostly a language family, the Germanic family of languages within the Indo-European family of languages. It also refers to anything that has to do with the people who at one time spoke these languages or speak those languages today. There are three branches of the Germanic language family. There's the North Germanic language family, and those are primarily the Scandinavian languages. So we have the modern languages of Icelandic, Norwegian, Swedish, and Danish, and the extinct language of Old Norse, and there are probably many, many other languages and dialects that once existed. And then we have the West Germanic language family. English and German are part of that. We also have other languages in that group. We have Frisian, we have Dutch, Flemish, Afrikaans. We have Yiddish in there. Luxembourgish is also part of that, Alsatian. The East Germanic language group is now extinct, has been long extinct. Its most notable member was the Gothic language. The words German and Germanic derive from what the Roman conquerors called the people of Central Europe when they encountered them and tried to subjugate them. In German, we draw a clear distinction between the words German and Germanic. We actually have very different words for that. So German, the language of German in modern day Germany, we would refer to as Deutsch. And Deutsch refers to the language and the culture and the nationality of German people starting in the Middle Ages, really. It's really more of a modern term. Germanic in German translates as Germanisch. Now, when we talk about people who are Germanisch or die Germanen, we are referring to ancient people. We're referring to primarily people that the Romans would have encountered, that the Romans had to deal with. The many different Germanic tribes that existed in the ancient world and that eventually migrated all over Europe and even outside of Europe. Germanisch can also be a linguistic term. So Germanisch in German as well refers to Germanische Sprachen, Germanic languages. So for that, we use it as well. It's really more of a historical, anthropological, linguistic term. It's not a term that we use to refer to modern day people so much. And Germanic people are not really the same as the Germans of today, largely because people have been moving around, and have been moved around too. So if you're Italian, for instance, there are multiple ways that you might have Germanic ancestors. You might have a Germanic ancestors who was trafficked as a slave from Central Europe 2,000 years ago. You may also have an ancestor, a Germanic ancestor, who was one of the Lombards or one of the Goths who invaded Italy about 1,500 years ago. You may also have a Germanic ancestor, a Scandinavian ancestor from about 1,000 years ago when the Normans conquered large parts of southern Italy. If you are Algerian, you may have an ancestor who was a Vandal. The Vandals were actually a Germanic people. And I don't think they were any more destructive than any of the other people. They just got a bad name, didn't they? If you are Spanish, there's a good chance you may have a Gothic ancestor. If you are Russian or Belarusian or Ukrainian, you may also have a Scandinavian ancestor who came to that area about 1,100 years ago as part of the Rus Viking groups that came to those areas and established themselves as a ruling class for a short period of time. And of course, many non-Germanic groups also moved through Germany. Some people got stuck there. For instance, the Huns moved through there and just before the Middle Ages started, kind of in the period between the Romans and the Middle Ages. And yeah, a lot of Germans have Hunnish ancestors. A lot of French people do too, by the way. You can even see some people, especially in southern Germany, who look like they just got off a horse. So in summary, you could maybe say that people do move around and people do mix. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's actually good to get some fresh blood into your family tree and not to be too closely related to everybody else. Certainly, biologically, that's very healthy. And also, let's keep in mind that ethnicities and race are constructs. We create those. We humans actually create those. They're not meaningless. They mean something, and there's nothing wrong about being proud of your ancestry, as long as you also understand that there are some not so good things that you shouldn't be proud of, and things that we all need to acknowledge about the sometimes terrible past of our ancestors. And that's certainly true for Germans. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, please give it a like and check out my other videos, see if there's something that you like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you might want to do that. If you like my videos, of course, no pressure. And thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye. Take care.